This piece represents a big process in my life. My first husband, who was the father of my children, died when he was 35. And the quilt represents really how I dealt with the grieving process and recovery. And the process involved both dealing with the immediate loss and also just daily living events. The black and white line, the jagged line down the center represents a scar, because certainly we never experienced such a major loss without permanent ramifications to our personality. But it heals, and the healing process involves both dealing with daily life things and with the bittersweet memories. I just thought it was a perfect fit. I mean, ebb and flow, isn't that the way our lives are? I really have had a very happy life, a very fulfilling life. But things happen and we go on. And it is kind of like the ebb and flow of nature. If it was my grade school penmanship teacher, she would probably conclude that she had failed in teaching me good penmanship, because my penmanship is very unique and challenging to read. Even for me, it's challenging to read. You know, I have written a great deal of text on the quilt. Besides the scar that goes down the center of the quilt, there's the bright blues and reds on each side. And then to beyond, I painted fabric. I like to paint fabric. And I painted fabric, which is it's a very odd color. It's a color I love. I think it's kind of a neutral color, but if you've grown up on a farm in Nebraska, we farm girls call it calf scour green, because when a calf gets diarrhea, that's what they emit, that color. And it's a very unique color. It's not a color that's very popular with fabric makers. And so one way you get it is you paint it. It was on this text that I wrote the memories, the ongoing process of dealing with daily life. I was a chemist, and so there's lots of chemical equations and math equations on it. And then there's little memories of the boys when they were growing up, or the boys during the time of their father's illness. And it's all, I wrote it all on this painted fabric, and then I cut the fabric up. And the combination of my very difficult to read handwriting and then cutting it up made it where I could say what I really wanted to say and still retain privacy. I think I wanted to, when a scar heals, you kind of have a lumpy, if it's a deep scar, you have kind of a lumpy area, and then sometimes you have some little skin changes. And perhaps the red, well, I like the colors, the red and the blue, with that neutral calf scour green, which I so love. I just thought it was pretty dramatic. And I think the healing process is pretty dramatic.